Our topic is covalent bonding, the formulas and naming, by Maya Julian and Jess St. Clair. And here are the many prefixes that we will use to name these covalent bonds. Also, the formula we will be using is a nonmetal bonded with another nonmetal. When naming a covalent bond, the first element needs a prefix when the subscript is greater than 1. The second element always needs a prefix and it ends in "ide." Now we will show you some examples of covalent bonds.
So the first element is carbon, and because the first element does not have a subscript greater than 1, it doesn't need a prefix. So it is just going to be called carbon. Our second element, chloride, always needs a prefix, and because of the subscript 4, this represents tetra. And the prefix goes before the second element's name. The final molecule is carbon tetrachloride. The first element of the molecule is phosphorus. Because it has a subscript greater than 1, we need a prefix. This subscript can be represented as di, or 2. So it'd be diphosphorus. Our next element is sulfur. Because it's the second element, it must have a prefix. This one's 5, so this represents penta. The final element is diphosphorus pentasulfide.
Our first element is nitrogen, and because it is the first element, we need a prefix when the subscript is greater than 1, and because the subscript is 2, we need a prefix of di. So the element is dinitrogen. For the second element, we have oxygen, and every second element needs a prefix. So since there's no subscript there, we can assume it's 1, so we need the prefix mono, so the second element is monoxide. Therefore, our finished molecule is dinitrogen monoxide. For this last example, we will be turning a name back into a formula. Our first element is xenon, which is represented by the abbreviation Xe. Our second element is octafluoride, and fluoride here is the base element, which has a prefix of octa. If we go over here, we can see that octa represents there are 8 molecules. So we then can turn the second element into its abbreviation F and use 8 as the subscript. Our then finished result is XeF8.